The smell of stale bread used to make me sick. Now it means breakfast. Behind Bella's bakery, I wait for the clock to hit 8:45. That's when they throw out the croissants. Still warm sometimes. I used to have my own veterinary clinic, a husband, a house with a garden full of tulips. Now I have a cardboard bed and a rain-soaked coat that smells like regret. My ex-husband Eric once told me, "No one will ever love a broke woman like you." He was right. Or at least I thought so. That morning, as I reached into a dumpster for a half-eaten muffin, I heard footsteps. Not the shuffle of pity or disgust, but confident, expensive shoes clicking against wet pavement. "Excuse me," a deep voice said. "Are you Harper Lane?" When I nodded, he smiled. "Your great aunt just died. She left you $97 million. And my world stopped breathing. I used to think I had it all figured out. My name is Harper Lane, 38 years old, and for most of my adult life, I believed hard work was enough to keep love, stability, and respect. I owned a small veterinary clinic on Maple Avenue in Seattle. Not fancy, but mine. My husband, Eric Dalton, was a financial advisor, charming in public and calculating in private. People said we looked like the couple on a real estate billboard, polished smiles, perfect posture, the illusion of a perfect life. But perfection is fragile. It cracks quietly, and by the time you hear it, it's already breaking. It started with the whispers. "You're spending too much time at the clinic, Harper." Then the comparisons. "Why can't you be more like Jenna? Her husband just bought her a Tesla." I tried to explain that I wasn't chasing money. I was saving animals. But to Eric, compassion wasn't currency. The night everything ended, it was raining, the kind of Seattle rain that soaks through your bones. I came home after performing emergency surgery on a stray dog. Eric was packing. His suitcases were lined up like soldiers. "Where are you going?" I asked, still in my scrubs. "Somewhere with ambition," he said flatly. "You've built a life around wounded creatures. I need someone who builds a future." He didn't yell. He didn't even cry. He just left. And with him went the mortgage payments, the insurance on my clinic, the stability of a home. A month later, the bank called. Eric had withdrawn his share of our joint account. All of it. The clinic folded soon after. When the landlord changed the locks, I stood outside with a cardboard box of medical files, watching my name being scraped off the front window. Mom offered me her spare room in Portland, but she was recovering from surgery. I didn't want to be a burden, so I stayed in Seattle, sleeping in my car, telling myself it was temporary. Then the car broke down. I remember sitting inside it one night, rain drumming against the roof, my breath fogging the windows. My reflection looked like a ghost, the ghost of the woman who once believed love was a safety net. By week 3, I was on the streets carrying a backpack with a few clothes and a photo of me and Eric on our wedding day. I wanted to hate him, but mostly I hated myself for believing he'd stay when money ran out. People passed me without looking. I learned what invisibility felt like. Every night I whispered to the cold air, "Just one more day, Harper. One more day." I had no idea that someone somewhere had been watching my fall, waiting for the exact moment I would lose everything, just to offer me a chance to rebuild. It was early November, cold enough that my breath came out like smoke. I was crouched behind Bella's bakery, peeling the plastic off a discarded muffin when I heard footsteps. Not the heavy, hurried kind of a store clerk chasing me off, but slow, steady, deliberate, expensive shoes, polished leather clicking against wet pavement. "Excuse me," a calm voice said behind me. "Are you Harper Lane?" For a second, I froze, clutching the muffin like a weapon. No one had said my name in weeks. My heart thudded in my chest. "Who's asking?" I rasped. The man stepped closer, tall, silver hair combed neatly, navy coat pressed sharp. He didn't belong in this alley. He smelled like wealth and order, everything I'd lost. "My name is Harold Whitman, attorney at law," he said, offering me a card. "I've been looking for you." I stared at it. Whitman Pierce and Dalton, Manhattan. The letters gleamed gold. It looked too clean for my hands to touch. "You've got the wrong person," I muttered, backing away. "Whatever this is, I don't have money." "I'm not here to collect," he replied, his tone even. I'm here because of your great aunt, Evelyn Hart. The name made me blink. Evelyn, I'd heard it once or twice as a child when Mom mentioned her eccentric aunt in New York. That woman had sent Christmas cards written in elegant cursive until I turned 18. Then silence. She passed away last month, Whitman continued. You've been named her sole heir. I laughed. It sounded harsh and hollow even to me. Heir? Look at me. I'm sleeping behind a bakery. He didn't flinch. Instead, he opened a sleek leather folder and pulled out a photo, me 5 years ago standing in front of my veterinary clinic smiling with my rescue dog, Clover. My clinic's logo, Harper Lane Animal Care, was visible behind me. This was taken in 2018, he said. Mrs. Hart kept detailed records of your life. She knew about your work, your divorce, and your current circumstances. I felt heat rise in my face. So, she knew I'm homeless and didn't do anything. On the contrary, he said softly. She did everything. She left you her penthouse on Fifth Avenue, her yacht in Miami, her art collection, and her entire financial estate valued at approximately $97 million. The world spun. I grabbed the dumpster to steady myself. 97 million. There's a catch, right? I whispered. One condition, he confirmed, meeting my eyes. But it cannot be discussed here. Mrs. Hart left a recorded message in her penthouse. You'll need to travel to New York to hear it. And if I don't, then in 72 hours, the entire estate passes to the alternate beneficiary, your ex-husband, Eric Dalton. I couldn't breathe. The man who destroyed me would get everything. Whitman adjusted his cufflinks. A car is waiting, he said gently. You can have a warm meal, a shower, and a decision to make. It's your move, Mississippi Lane. And just like that, the alley behind Bella's bakery, my last piece of normal, became the doorway to a life I didn't understand yet. I stared at Mr. Whitman, half expecting him to laugh and admit this was some elaborate prank. But his eyes were steady, professional, almost too calm for the chaos he'd just dropped into my life. $97 million. A penthouse, a yacht. Those words didn't belong anywhere near a woman with holes in her shoes and a stomach growling from hunger. You have 72 hours, he repeated. After that, the estate legally transfers to Mr. Dalton. The sound of my ex-husband's name sliced through me like glass. Eric, the man who drained our bank accounts, left me bankrupt and told me I was a liability to his image. I clenched my fists. What kind of person leaves money to the woman her family forgot and makes the man who ruined her the backup plan? Whitman gave a small knowing smile. The kind who believes lessons matter more than inheritance. He reached into his coat and handed me a small white envelope. Inside was a plane ticket to New York first class and a key card with my name embossed in gold. You'll be staying at the Hartley Grand, courtesy of the estate, he said. You can take your time. I'll be waiting at the airport until 10 o'clock. He tipped his hat slightly, turned, and disappeared into the rain. For a long time, I just stood there, gripping the envelope like it might dissolve. My entire world, my dumpster, my routine, my anonymity suddenly felt like a cage. Then I thought of Eric. His smug grin when the judge handed him everything. His last words before walking out. You'll never make it without me, Harper. You're nothing. Maybe I couldn't make it before. But maybe this was my one chance to prove him wrong. I packed my entire life in under 5 minutes. A backpack with my toothbrush, a worn sweatshirt, and the photo of me holding Clover, my rescue dog. I stopped by the edge of the alley to say goodbye to Maya, the young woman who sometimes shared her blanket with me. You leaving town, Harper? She asked, half asleep. Maybe, I said. If I don't come back, just know it wasn't because I stopped caring. She smiled weakly. Nobody leaves for good. We always circle back. Her words clung to me as I climbed into the black link and parked by the curb. The driver nodded without a word. And soon the city I'd learned to survive in, the cold, wet, hungry city started fading in the rear view mirror. At the airport lounge, I showered for the first time in months. Hot water poured over me like forgiveness. I watched layers of dirt swirl down the drain, taking fragments of my old life with it. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back. My hair was still damp, my skin pale, but clean. For the first time in a long time, I didn't look like someone the world had forgotten. I looked like someone about to start over. By the time the plane touched down in New York, my nerves were on fire. I'd spent the entire flight wondering what kind of condition could possibly be worth $97 million. Every scenario in my mind felt like a trap, a cruel joke, a test I was destined to fail. Mr. Whitman met me at the terminal, immaculate as ever, holding a sign that simply read, Mississippi Lane. "Welcome to New York," he said. "Mrs. Hart's penthouse awaits." The drive into Manhattan felt like entering another planet. Glass towers, gold-lit streets, doormen, and uniforms polished to perfection. When we pulled up to the building on Fifth Avenue, I could barely breathe. The lobby smelled like money and marble. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. It was enormous, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city, soft jazz playing from invisible speakers, and paintings I recognized from museum catalogs. I caught my reflection in the glass. A woman in borrowed clothes standing in a palace that didn't belong to her. Whitman motioned toward a study lined with books and family portraits. In the center stood a large mahogany desk and a sleek screen waiting to be played. "This is Mrs. Evelyn Hart's private message," he explained. "It will play once. I'll leave you alone." He closed the doors behind me. Silence filled the room. My hands shook as I pressed play. The screen flickered, and there she was, a woman in her 80s. Silver hair swept elegantly back, eyes sharp as glass. Even through the recording, she radiated power. "Hello, Harper," she began, voice steady but soft. "If you're watching this, you've hit the bottom. I know that feeling better than anyone." She leaned closer. "In 1965, I was you, abandoned by my husband, broke, sleeping in my car near the Hudson. I survived because a stranger, a woman named Claire, took me in and gave me work. That kindness built my empire. But I never forgot the cold nights when no one saw me." I felt a lump rising in my throat. "So here's the condition," she continued. "To inherit my estate, you must help 100 women escape homelessness. Not by handing out cash, but by giving them a real chance. Housing, medical care, jobs, dignity. You'll have 5 years to do it." My pulse pounded in my ears. "If you refuse," Evelyn said, "or fail to complete it, the estate will go to your ex-husband, Eric Dalton." My jaw tightened. That man would live off the ruins of my life. Never. "I chose you, Harper, because you understand pain and because empathy is the rarest form of wealth." The video paused for a breath. Then her tone softened. "Prove me right." The screen went black. I stood there trembling, surrounded by silent luxury that now felt like a battlefield. 5 years, 100 women, $97 million, and one man I refused to let win again. I sat in that silent penthouse for a long time after the video ended. The city glittered below like 1,000 tiny promises, and for the first time in years, I wasn't sure whether to cry or laugh. 100 women, 5 years, $97 million. It sounded impossible, and yet impossibility was all I'd known lately. When Mr. Whitman returned, he studied me quietly. "So, Mississippi Lane," he said. "Do you accept your aunt's condition?" I took a deep breath. "I do, but I'll need help." "Then let's start there." Within a week, the Evelyn Hart Foundation was born. Whitman helped me establish the legal framework, set up the accounts, and hire an accountant who looked at me like I was a fraud until he saw the trust documents. The first time I walked into the foundation's rented office, a converted storefront in Queens, I almost laughed. A cracked floor, flickering fluorescent light, one desk, 2 chairs, and a flickering neon sign that still read for lease. But it was mine, a beginning. I found my first partner purely by chance. On my second day, as I handed out sandwiches near a shelter, I recognized a face I'd seen in the bakery alley months ago, Maya Torres, the young woman who once shared her blanket with me. Her hair was tangled, her eyes dull from exhaustion. But when she saw me, her mouth fell open. "Harper, you look different." "So do you," I said softly. "Come with me. I have something I need help building." She hesitated. "I don't do charity work." "Good," I said. "Neither do I." I told her about Evelyn's condition, how the mission wasn't to save people, but to empower them. Mia listened, cautious, but curious. When I offered her a job as my assistant, she stared at me for a full minute before whispering, "You're serious?" "I am, because I was where you are." That was the first yes of many. Within 3 months, we had helped our first 5 women, providing small apartments, counseling, and part-time work through local clinics. It wasn't glamorous. Some relapsed into addiction. Some disappeared after a week, but a few stayed, and those few gave me strength to keep going. Every night, I returned to the penthouse Evelyn had left me, staring at her portrait above the fireplace. I imagined her voice. Empathy is the rarest form of wealth. Some nights I wanted to quit. I didn't know how to heal 100 broken lives when I was still gluing the pieces of mine together. But each morning Maya would show up with 2 cups of coffee and a tired smile. 5 down, 95 to go, she'd say. And somehow that was enough, because for the first time since Eric left me, I wasn't surviving. I was building. 3 years passed faster than I could count. The Evelyn Hart Foundation had grown from one cracked office into 4 bustling centers across New York. We'd helped 62 women rebuild their lives. Women who'd once slept in bus stations now managing cafes, working in hospitals, or studying again. Every success felt like a small miracle. But miracles have a way of drawing out ghosts. One morning, Mr. Whitman called. "Mississippi Lane," he said gravely. "Your ex-husband has filed a petition to challenge your inheritance." For a moment, I thought I'd misheard him. "Eric?" "Yes. He claims Evelyn Hart's condition was coercive and that you're mismanaging the estate for personal gain." My throat went dry. Eric's voice from years ago came back to me. "You'll never make it without me." 2 days later, I saw him again. He arrived at my office wearing a custom gray suit, a gold watch flashing under the fluorescent lights. Beside him was a much younger woman who looked like a magazine model. Eric smirked the way he used to when he wanted me to feel small. "You've done well for yourself, Harper," he said, glancing around the busy office. "Never thought you'd be able to handle this kind of money." "It's not mine," I replied. "It's for the women who need it." "Of course," he said, finding sympathy. "But the way I see it, you wouldn't have had any of this if not for our marriage. Technically, I introduced you to the Hart family." I crossed my arms. "You introduced me to misery." His grin sharpened. "I'm contesting the will. If you fail that ridiculous condition, the entire estate reverts to me. Maybe I'll run it better." For the first time in years, anger burned through my calm facade. "You left me to rot, Eric. You told me I was worthless. You don't get to own the story of my redemption." He chuckled. "Well, see what the court says." The following weeks were chaos. Auditors inspecting every file, reporters knocking on my door, whispers that the homeless Aries was a fraud. I could feel the foundation wobbling under the weight of Eric's smear campaign. During one long night in the office, Maya found me sitting at my desk, staring at piles of paperwork. "Don't let him take this from you," she said. "You built this from nothing. He can't understand that kind of strength." I smiled weakly. "He doesn't have to understand it. He just has to fear it." The day of the hearing arrived. The courtroom smelled of wood polish and tension. Eric's lawyer, young, slick, overconfident, painted me as a manipulative woman exploiting her aunt's fortune. I could feel the sneers from the gallery. Then Mr. Whitman stood and spoke with quiet authority. "Your Honor, before Mrs. Hart passed, she recorded a second message to be revealed only if her will was challenged." The lights dimmed as the monitor flickered on. Evelyn Hart appeared again, older, frilier, but her eyes still glowed with fire. "If anyone, especially my niece's ex-husband, dares question her worthiness, remember this." I watched Harper lose everything with grace, and I watched him strip her of it. "He believes money defines value." "I built this fortune to prove the opposite," she coughed, then added softly. "If he files a claim, consider it void." Greed was never a family trait I rewarded. The courtroom fell silent. Eric's lawyer sat down slowly, face pale. Eric stood, furious. "You think this changes anything? You're nothing without that old woman's money." I turned to him, calm now. "No, Eric. I was nothing because of you. But now I'm everything she believed I could be. The judge banged his gavel, ending the hearing. Case dismissed. Outside the courthouse, reporters crowded around, flashing lights in my eyes. I looked straight into one camera and said, Evelyn Hart's legacy isn't about money. It's about proving that even the broken can build empires out of empathy. Somewhere behind the flashing lights, Eric vanished into the crowd, smaller than I'd ever seen him. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. After the court ruling, I expected to feel triumphant. But the truth is, victory didn't feel like revenge. It felt like release. For the first time since my marriage ended, I could breathe without the weight of proving myself to anyone. Yet, the work wasn't over. Evelyn's condition still echoed in my head. 100 women, real help, real change. The foundation had grown stronger than ever after the trial. Donations began pouring in from people who saw the headlines. Homeless Aries defeats ex-husband in court and keeps building homes for others. Suddenly, I wasn't just Harper Lane, the woman who lost everything. I was a symbol, and symbols don't get to rest. Maya became the heart of the foundation. She managed outreach programs, trained counselors, and even started a mentoring group called the Second Sunrise, pairing women who had escaped homelessness with those still struggling. Watching her lead made me realize something profound. Sometimes the people we save end up saving us. One rainy evening, I returned to the shelter we'd opened in Brooklyn. A woman sat by the door clutching a suitcase and a little boy. Her name was Renee Porter, a single mother evicted after losing her job. She couldn't meet my eyes when she spoke. "I don't want charity," she whispered. "I just want my son to sleep somewhere safe." Her words hit me like a flashback because I'd once said almost the same thing, standing outside my clinic with nowhere to go. I crouched beside her, handed her a cup of warm tea, and said softly, "This isn't charity, Renee. It's a restart." Renee stayed. Within 6 months, she had a new apartment and a stable job working with our administrative team. She became the face of our campaign, from streets to strength. But the moment that truly undid me came later that year. My mother called. Her voice trembled through the phone. "Harper, I saw you on the news. I'm proud of you, sweetheart. Your father would be too." I hadn't realized how much I needed to hear that. For so long, I'd felt like a disappointment to my family, to myself. But now the narrative had shifted. 3.5 years after that morning behind Bella's bakery, the foundation had helped 87 women rebuild their lives. Some relapsed. Yes, life was messy like that, but most stayed on their feet. One evening, Maya handed me a folder with a grin. "Number 88 just signed her lease," she said. "And you, boss lady, are officially a miracle machine." I laughed, shaking my head. Not a miracle, just proof that pain can grow roots if you water it with purpose. That night, I sat alone in Evelyn's study, her portrait watching over me. For the first time, I whispered, "We're getting close, Aunt Evelyn. I think you'd be proud." Outside, New York shimmered, not with wealth, but with the quiet lights of people finding their way home. 5 years to the day since I first set foot in Evelyn Hart's penthouse, I found myself standing there again. Same window, same skyline, but a completely different woman. The Evelyn Hart Foundation had just marked its 5th anniversary. 103 women had officially graduated from our housing and job programs. I'd done it. We'd done it. Mr. Whitman arrived that morning carrying a sealed envelope with my name written in elegant cursive. "Mrs. Hart instructed me to deliver this only when you fulfilled her condition," he said. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a simple handwritten letter dated 5 years earlier. "Dearest Harper, when you reach this point, you'll understand what I could never teach with money. That giving is how the broken heal. I knew you'd succeed. Not because of the inheritance, but because pain shaped your empathy. The rest of the estate is now fully yours. Use it well, Evelyn." Tears blurred the ink before I could finish reading. I folded the letter fully and pressed it to my heart. Later that evening, we held a celebration at Evelyn House, our new transitional housing complex for women and children. It was a renovated brownstone filled with laughter and the smell of home-cooked food. Maya gave a speech that had everyone crying within 2 minutes. 5 years ago, Harper Lane was sleeping behind a bakery, she said, voice trembling. Now, because of her, hundreds of women sleep in beds, not alleys. She didn't just give us money, she gave us dignity. Applause erupted. I wanted to speak, but my throat was too tight. I managed only a few words. Evelyn gave me a second chance. I just passed it on. After the event, as the guests filtered out, I stepped outside for air. The city hummed softly around me. Taxis, laughter, the faint buzz of neon signs. That's when I saw her, a young woman, maybe 20, sitting on the curb with a backpack and a frightened look that felt achingly familiar. She wiped her eyes quickly when she noticed me watching. "Are you okay?" I asked gently. I don't have anywhere to go," she murmured. "My name's Chloe." The way she said it, fragile but hopeful, reminded me of myself the day Harold Whitman found me behind Bella's bakery. I shrugged off my coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. "You do now," I said softly. "Come with me, Chloe. Let's get you warm." Her eyes widened, a mix of confusion and disbelief. "Why are you helping me?" I smiled, because someone once did the same for me. As we walked back toward Evelyn House, I glanced up at the night sky, and for a fleeting moment, I could almost see Evelyn there, silver hair glowing in the city lights, smiling that knowing smile. Life had come full circle. Later that night, when I tucked Chloe into one of the freshly made beds and turned off the light, she whispered half asleep, "Thank you, Miss Harper." I stood in the doorway, whispering back, "Don't thank me. Just promise me you'll help the next one." When I stepped outside again, the wind off the Hudson was cool, but kind. The city lights shimmered like a million small second chances. I finally understood what Evelyn meant. The inheritance was never the money. It was the chain of compassion, passed from hand to hand, woman to woman, until no one was left out in the cold. And as the night deepened around me, I smiled through quiet tears, because for the first time in forever, I was home.